Welcome back. I'm Charlotte Wiseman, an applied positive psychology researcher and a mental fitness trainer. And we're here for the fourth part of your tools to support you through this period of change. As I said, I'm from a research background, which means everything I bring you is evidence-based, and it's all about giving you practical tools to support you through this time. I'm constantly creating new content, so please do be in touch if there's anything else that you'd like me to do, support you with, or give you some tools on, and I will create that content for you and share it. You can visit me at charlottewiseman.com and get my contact details there to let me know what I can do to support you. Today, what we're going to talk about is how we manage overthinking. When we go through any period of change or transition, it initially feels very uncomfortable. That's absolutely natural. What we know is that when we go through any change, the body initially doesn't know what's going on, and that triggers our stress response, and the body can't cope initially. So if you think about when you're walking up to altitude, the reduction in oxygen as you get to the higher level, initially the body struggles to manage that. We feel out of breath, we can't do as much. But over time, the body adapts, and we actually get to a point where we can maintain peak performance even though the oxygen levels are lower. So even though that change, the environment is still as it was when we first arrived, we have adapted to manage that so we can continue to thrive regardless. And that's what being adaptive is all about. So through that period, until we get to that point, what we need to do is be able to manage our overthinking, manage the stress, the worry that I think a lot of people are really going through at the moment. So you've got a download to help you think about this, and I'm going to just talk you through that. So what you've got on your handout a series of 3 circles on one side, and they're 3 different layers of yellow. And at the outer layer, what you see is these are the things, the worries, the concerns, the stresses that you can control. So these are things in your life like your workload, like the time you get up, like how you structure your day. You've got control over those things. The next layer in is your layer of influence. These are things in your life which you can influence, but you can't control. Very often these are the relationships in your life. So you might be able to influence your children or your partner or the people you live with, but you certainly can't control them. You might be able to influence your health by getting enough sleep and eating well, but we certainly can't control it. And then the things at the centre, the core, are the things we can't control. And at the moment, we're facing a lot of these. We don't know how long we'll be in isolation. We don't know what kind of changes are going to be awaiting us when we finish that period. So there's a lot of uncertainty that we can't control. And this is really what people tend to be struggling the most with. We're all very clear about how we can do things and take action when we can control, but when we can't control, we often don't have the tools to manage that. So what you've got on the opposite side of the page are 2 boxes. And you've got at the bottom a box for the things you can do when you can control things. That's goal setting, that's prioritising, that's making lists, that's asking for help or delegating. Those are all those practical things. And we're not going to focus so much on those, but if that's of interest, let me know and I'll create some more content for you around that. What we're going to focus on is that top box of when you don't have control, how can you manage it? And there's really 3 core things we can do. The first part is very simply distract ourselves. The brain can't do too many things at the same time, which means if we take our attention and put it on something else, it can't worry about those things going on in the background. So distracting ourselves with something that takes our full attention. Things like cooking is great because what it does is it takes our attention, our focus, we get involved in that process. Equally playing an instrument because it takes coordination of the body and the mind and we're learning. That absorbs us. In fact, any kind of learning absorbs us and helps us to be distracted. Exercise is another good thing, again, because it requires coordination. So anything that will distract you is a very good option when you can't control something. Now that's not appropriate if you can control it, because that's just denying what you can be doing. It's often called procrastination. But if you can't control something, distraction is a great technique. The next thing we can do is actually to change the way we think about something. So we can't control something going on, but we can change the way we react to that. So that's about saying, what's the opportunity for me to learn here? What else might happen here? What's the possibility here? So it's about saying to ourselves and realizing that every opportunity, every challenge brings a new opportunity of learning. It might be difficult to work from home because of the other people in your house, but this is a great time to get to know them and you might learn about them. You might learn to be a bit more patient. You might learn a little bit more about their interests. It might be difficult because you can't do your old exercise routine, but perhaps you'll learn a new type of exercise that you enjoy. So there's all sorts of opportunities. So looking for the possibilities, the opportunities, and what we might get out of this in a positive sense. The third thing we can do is calm ourselves on a biological level. So stimulate what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest or digest part of the system. So to do this, there's a lot of different techniques. Mindfulness is one that's very well evidenced. So focusing on sensations and noticing when your thoughts get drawn to something outside of you or to worrying, and then just bring your attention back to notice sensations. And those sensations could be noticing your breath, they could be noticing sounds, they could be an eating meditation or mindful eating, noticing tastes, any kind of sensations and being mindful of what you're experiencing. Noticing when the mind drifts and bringing your attention back. Another thing we can do to activate this de-stress technique, the de-stress part of the nervous system, is doing exercise. Now what that does is when we engage in the exercise, we use muscles and we get activated, but then when we stop, we de-stress, and that supports that rest and digest process. Another very simple thing is breathing exercises. So if you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, you'll notice maybe both hands are moving, or maybe one hand's moving, or maybe the other hand's moving. But if you can take 3 deep breaths into your lower hand, that lower belly, that diaphragm, then that's going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So breathing less movement in the hand at the top, breathing into your lower hand will stimulate that action. So there's some really simple techniques, and that's going to help to manage the chemical elements of the stress response. I hope that's been useful. Do think about which of those you'd like to try, and do think of it as a learning process. So perhaps try something, see how you get on, have a go with something else, see if that's better for you or worse, but keep trying and exploring and see it a little bit of an experiment to see what works for you. Let me know if I can do anything else to help you, and I'll see you again soon.